Good morning. We're opening up the Personnel Finance July 7th meeting at 9 a.m. Our first item on the agenda is public comments. And we're going to take public comments from anybody who wishes to speak, including those people on Zoom. We'll take a 2-minute interval for each person speaking so that we get everybody in if we have an overflow. So, first person to speak is
Scott Skoletsky.
Scott. Would you go ahead, please?
Sounds good. I got some sheets here and you can hand them out. It's about a building that Winnebago County owns. They own it from a tax delinquency and they've owned it for a while now. I wanted to let you know about the building. I guess it's more informational, but there is a call to action at some point. The building is in Menasha, it's 333. And if you look at some of the pictures in the back, you'll see that the building has water damage to it and there's mold growing in the building. And I guess my partner and I are willing to purchase the building. We know there's a process for purchasing it. And I just wanted to let you know that because of the mold and the water damage still going in the building, that we can't wait a month and a month and a month for things to happen. So in other words, sealing the building off would be a really good first step, whether the county does it or somebody else, and then start the remediation. But the building is of historical significance because it used to be the Geary dairy plant. And then if you go through the historical, they'll tell you why it's of significance. But I just wanted everybody to know that when the person came through that is for water remediation and mold remediation, they said it can't go through another winter or you're basically going to have to rip the building down. So if we wait a month till August for something to happen, and then in August we say another month, now you're just September getting close to winter. So I just wanted you to be aware of it so that when it's time to act, you at least know about the building in Menasha. The county owns it. There is some interest, not at a very high dollar value because of the amount of effort that's involved with it. I guess if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to take them. Mary has been through the building and toured us through it, but I guess I'm just.
We won't take any questions at this point in
No
time.
problem.
But, appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Mike.
Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak?
So can I ask Mary questions?
Pardon me?
Can I ask Mary questions?
Can we handle it when my item is up on the agenda because this property is listed in my agenda item
Okay, then.
from a previous time.
So that's been listed for sale.
We have online auctions on it with no bids, and I can address that with my item.
No, that's all I wanted to know.
Anybody else wish to speak? Please. Anybody on Zoom? Be quiet. We have nobody else wishing to comment. We're going to close comments. Move on to the second agenda item, which is approval of the minutes for June 2nd.
So moved.
David moves to announce. Oh, you weren't. You can abstain.
Yes, I can't, I don't think I can second it, so.
I'll second.
Bender second.
Steve seconds. Okay, we have a vote.
Same.
Vote to approve. 4 and 1 abstention. Okay, so the third item on the agenda is budget transfer. First budget transfer has to do with the capital improvement in buildings and the transfer to control tower cab window replacement. This is just informational, so I don't think we have a vote on that. The fourth item is another budget transfer. This has to do with the Parks Department. And the transfer from the Fox Crossing Dog Park to the Asylum Bridge. Adam here. Just a quick word.
Sure, absolutely. So what this transfer is, basically the Fox Crossing Dog Park is coming, we have a few things left to finish up on it. We have about 10,000 left in that project fund. The Asylum Bridge, we did not, we had asphalt paving that needed to be done this spring, so we carried over 7,000 from that project, but we left the rest of that project. We didn't carry over any more from that project. We were about 20,000 in the positive. But a small change order came up that was staff driven, that'll provide more stability on the landing area and add a little bit more asphalt to the area, to the landing area. So we are moving some of the funds from the Fox Crossing or Jerry Finch Dog Park project over to the Silent Bridge project to cover that.
That was informational as well. So it's got what's not, there's no vote on information. And thanks. We have a budget transfer for from Parks Department to replace to move from a truck replacement to a tractor replacement, and that's for informational only. And it's just moved between.
Yeah, just a little insight. We had budgeted, we originally budgeted or attempted to budget for both. So the budget process, the tractor was taken out. With the supply issues with pickup trucks this year, we weren't able to get on the list. So we decided to purchase the tractor. That's a 1972 tractor replacement. So it was definitely due as well. So next year, we're then hoping to then replace the truck. So kind of flipping it.
Don't be coming back for another tractor for another 50 years.
They were built very well back then.
That was what I was for.
Okay, so that's. We have a budget transfer. Actually, from contingency to employee appreciation, employee appreciation event. And that is actually a transfer as well between two different spots in the budget. You want to give us a little insight, please?
Yeah, sure. We're just trying to have an event where our employees can come together and connect from all different departments. Just to kind of build a little bit of a family feel to it. And the last time I brought this, the direction was, what was the plan? And we didn't want to really go through a plan until we knew we had the money. So what we did is we got a group of employees together, and actually Shelley Schrag here has been leading that group. She is currently in IS. And we pulled a whole bunch of employees, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to pass it to Shelley for a sec to let you know what the group had decided.
So
Sure, go ahead.
thank you. We started with a survey of all of our employees, and I was very happy to see over 300 people responded to said survey. So there is a great interest in a need. So with that being said, we use their suggestions, and we have not made any final decisions, waiting on your approval, but we would like to gather out at the Expo Center, bring everyone together, food, fun, music, kids games, bounce houses, a true family event. And then looking at options for those that cannot attend it because they are working at 24/7 departments, and also those that choose not to attend. So we would need part of the budget for the event itself and part of the budget for those that are not able to attend. There, we've done quotes, we've done some estimates, things like that, to try to stay within the 14,625 that was originally proposed.
What kind of estimates have you been getting?
I'm sorry?
What kind of estimates?
We are looking at the food, which would be the highest of our costs, so that we can have that picnic style. We have looked at estimates for entertainment, perhaps music, and then for bounce houses and whatnot. Our biggest expense would be the food.
Are you gonna be able to stay within the budget that you got here?
We will do our best.
And I wouldn't want you to come back and ask for another 10,000.
Yep.
Say 2 words.
All right, the department heads are on board. They're gonna be asked to come and help grill brats and burgers. We're gonna be, department heads are going to be kind of leading up the volunteer effort on this, so we can make sure that we're hitting the budget. We looked at caterers and we said, there's no way we can do that. We're gonna have to cook the food ourselves. I'm more than capable of doing that. I've done it plenty of times in my life, and I think our department heads are more than capable of grilling brats. Mary Ann, you ever grilled a brat before? I could teach you. But I think absolutely we can, as long as we're making it ourselves and we're doing it ourselves.
Cost to the people coming? Is there a cost involved with brats and whatever?
The brats, I can get at wholesale, and the burgers I can get at wholesale, so we'll be able to do that pretty cheap.
We would not
But-
charge the employees to attend,
That's what I was getting.
Right.
but we will have some activities that could raise funds for our United Way. Some additional charges for those if the employees wish
Sell
to
tickets,
participate.
whatever. Sell tickets.
Raffle tickets, basket raffles, 50/50.
Sounds great. Have you got a date picked out somewhere?
We do. On Wednesday, August 24th, our survey results showed that the majority of employees preferred a weeknight versus a weekend event.
Okay. So do we have a motion on the floor?
So move.
Second.
David, and second by Don. Okay, we have a vote?
Aye,
Aye.
enthusiastically.
Aye. Okay, so we got 5-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Very crude. Very crude. We have sale of rent properties is the next item. So we'll get a motion after Mary tells us what she's got.
And this, there is no resolution to go along with this because this just needs the approval of the committee for selling of 2 properties that are being sold for less than the value that was established by the county board. We had first advertised and had an online auction, and the properties didn't receive any bids. And this is the same as the other one, the 333. You see on my agenda item report, it's the first one under the background. That in March, we had published 7 properties, sold 3. So then we did another publication on the 4 that did not sell. And so now 2 of those 4 did sell for an amount less than established by the board. The first one is a vacant lot on East Parkway and Grand Street. It's an L-shaped property in Oshkosh. The minimum bid that we did get on it was $2,000. The value that had been established by the board was 5,000. The second property that did sell was a vacant lot on West 14th Ave in Oshkosh. And the board had set the value at 5,000 and it sold through the auction the second time around. This is the third time, at 2,525. So it's approving the sale of those two properties at those reduced amounts. The other two properties that did not sell is the 333 First Street in Menasha, and then another vacant lot on Bowman Street here in Oshkosh. 333 First Street in Menasha, the board had established the value at 200,000. We advertised, we didn't get any bids. I lowered the minimum bid amount to 175,000. Ran another auction, we didn't get any bids. I lowered it to 150,000. Ran another auction, again, no bids. My suggestion is going to be, or what my next course of action is going to be, is to lower it to 75,000. It is getting to be in rough shape. The mold is becoming more evident as time goes by, as rain happens, as the property is closed up, there's no air circulation. As we know, what happens with moisture and no air circulation is mold is going to continue to grow. If anybody has any further comments, and on the Bowman Street property, I believe the committee had set, or the board had set the value at 10,000. I've got the folder, but I tried selling it, reducing it down to 7, and still no bids on that one. So I will again reduce that value and run another auction on that one as well. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I do, but do we need to start this, do this, and then
Do
ask
we want to,
questions?
yes, approve these,
Yeah.
sale of these two for lower, for what?
Before we ask any questions, we
Yes.
want to be able to put a motion out there to approve what you have.
Yes, the
Okay,
two that
and
did
then
sell. So seven.
When we decide that, in deciding it,
Discuss.
then we'll ask the question.
I move to approve the sale of the 2 properties.
Second,
Don? Betsy? Do we want to,
we have discussion.
have a discussion before voting?
I have just a question.
Is it on the motion for these two? that
Yes,
sold?
it's on
Okay.
these in particular. I underlined county board. So when you say the county board, you mean the 36 supervisors are the
Right.
ones that set this?
Right, I bring it to committee.
Okay.
After we take them, what I typically do, or what I have done, is have a realtor look at them to see what do they feel that the market would be on the properties. Then I bring that information forth to the Personnel and Finance Committee. And then, based on discussion and stuff, those values are, the resolution is based on the values that the committee approves.
And you're getting
That
multiple CMAs on those, or
Pardon?
are you getting multiple CMAs on those, or,
Just one realtor market analysis.
right?
Yes, I just do one. Is that what you're?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, CMA, I'm a real estate agent
Okay,
also, so I
okay.
was just curious, like, how are you getting these prices? And I didn't know if this was, when it says county board,
And then.
so then I thought, oh, the county board of 36 people are telling you what you need to sell it by. So that was my
Goes to
question, because I
committee
didn't know
first,
the
and then
background.
Then
Yeah,
the resolution would go to the full county board. and
Okay,
That's how that
perfect.
gets established.
Okay.
Correct. Yes,
and then, okay, that's it for that. That, I just wanted to clarify what that meant in
Yes.
here, so.
yes.
Steve.
We put, like, I see all over the city of Oshkosh. City of Oshkosh has all kinds of lots. It says city of Oshkosh. Do we put signs on our lots, or?
I do have for sale signs with our phone number. They do not have, they're not like county for sale signs, but they are signs that state that the property is for sale and our office phone number.
You know, because I'm just curious how many people even know about these sites to look at it, to get on. You know, I mean, I just bought a lot off Quite Enough. And I find it online, you know, I don't go to these sites to find a piece of real estate that I'm looking for, you know, it's like, our bidding system, we don't ever seem to get many bids and we never seem to get any for a decent price. You know, I think maybe we need to reevaluate our process of selling these and
We used to do sealed bids. So basically a legal notice was published in the newspaper, and even with online auctions, we still do publish a legal notice in the paper. We are required by statute. And we used to do sealed bids. So people would just, you know, this, the property I want to bid on, how they got to know about them, I don't know. Online auction is more viable. You do get more action. And sealed bids, sometimes people would come in, where they drop them off or.
are we not allowed to give them to a realtor? I mean, it's like. I go
Statute
look
does
at these-
allow for that, yes.
If, as a real estate agent, I would not want to take these properties on because they're so low and you wouldn't make any money off of it.
Right.
So that's probably what the issue is. And then you have to put on the MLS and then that costs money. And then the real estate agent's not making any money off a $5,000 property. So
Right. Well,
I'm
this is-
assuming that's where you're getting problems. That why it's not on the MLS. If this is on MLS, it would definitely go faster. But
Right, this
because of
building here for 200,000, I would think that we could get someone realtor that would be willing to take the building on.
if I walked into that building, I saw all that mold, there's no way I would list it.
I bet you I could find a realtor that would take it. and be
It's
happy
not
to
gonna
do it.
go for 200,000.
And the way, you know, talking about signage, I did on this property have one on the front door and the back door of the property. I believe that's how you,
I found it because of the sign.
because of the sign.
I
So,
live in Monash, I happen to.
right.
But it is on LoopNet, which I'm sure everybody's, it's on Wisconsin surplus as well. So the same place you sell your trucks throughout the state, it's on there as well.
I guess, just in my opinion, I think we need to find a better way of marketing them. I don't believe that. I've never looked at any of these on any of these sites. I bet you could walk down the street and ask 100 people and not a one person would even know where to find
Okay,
these
Steve.
properties.
Just a second. I want to get to a point of
Yeah, I'm just saying,
deciding,
using that
we're not deciding on policy here.
No,
We're deciding on whether. or
if
not
we should sell these or not. And my point is, I don't know if we really did an adequate job of advertising them. It's to sell them for basically less than 50% of what we were asking. You know, I don't think we basically maybe let enough people know about them. I see the city of Oshkosh has signs out there for 2 years. They're not in a hurry. It's a piece of land. You cut the grass every 10 or 15 days. You know, it's not like it's got a whole lot of maintenance to it. You send them mowing crew out there.
Okay. So let's quickly vote for the sale of the property at the price that Mary has it set up for.
That we received the bids for.
That you received the bids for, so.
Aye.
No,
Aye. 4-1. Okay. On to the other things, if you want to talk to Mary after the meeting.
I'm willing to talk to anybody about it that would like to stay, that would be fine.
Yes,
One thing is we do need to find next course of action, which is typical if it doesn't sell, is to reduce the amount and try to sell it again, and then come back, you know, hopefully we get a bid and come back to you again for approval is what it would require.
okay, so you got your answer.
But I put in a bid even if it's below.
It's got to, well, we have to set a minimum bid on the online auction. So,
Totally okay with
yeah,
that.
yep.
But there is some things from a buyer standpoint that if you know you're going down, you know, because I think you have like a couple of days after it to close on it or something like that. Right?
What I have been requiring is when I reduce the amount, and then it has to come to committee for approval, but 10% of your bid is due like within 24 hours of the close of the auction.
Mhm.
And then I bring it to committee, and then if it's approved, the balance of those funds are due within 7 days after the approval of the committee.
And it says that in here, I believe I just read it.
And you
Yes.
can't negotiate, so therefore this is the only way that you can do it as a non-real estate agent.
Yes. I have my license, I can sell real estate.
I don't either.
All right,
Um,
yes, so
I just wanted, she has to do it this way because it's the statute that requires. So whatever the bid amount is, whatever, she has to come here and that's been the practice all along, and she's always.
So from the buyer's standpoint, what ability do we have to negotiate? I'm not saying on the purchase price, because you know, if you take my purchase price, we're good. But other things like, can I talk to the historical society or not on behalf of anything? If I got 7 days and I have to try and get some permitting and things approved, what I can't do is go into winter and have done nothing. I'm burning up my sunny days, let's call it, you know what I mean?
And I would suggest you seek legal counsel because I cannot give you legal counsel. I am counsel to the board, the supervisors, the county executive. But again, you should do whatever you think is reasonable.
I know I'm taking up time, but I know the county has employees. Would it pay for somebody to go seal the roof? I mean, this seems logical. If any one of us owned it individually, you'd want to stop the water coming in?
you're gonna have to wait till Mary gets.
Sorry, thank you for taking up your time.
Mary, you've got
I can follow up.
your follow.
I didn't
Okay,
get to
on to,
Welcome to the speed of government.
Well, I'm trying to educate first, read myself as much as I can.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim Shield. This is approval of a ground lease between Wings and as Eagles Mission Air Service. I believe that was included in the resolution. So before we get to a motion, let's hear from Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is a lease renewal for a private tenant of the airport. Leases 21,200 square feet of land from us. They constructed a hangar approximately 20 years ago and had a 20-year land lease initially. So this is a renewal of that land lease for another 20-year term. The ordinance rate, the rate for the land lease is set by statute, or excuse me, by ordinance. And there are 3-year increments where the rate is adjusted by the increase to CPI, which is fairly standard for our land leases. And so every 3 years, for the initial 3-year term, throughout the 20-year term of the lease, will increase the rate by that adjustment. The tenant is in good standing with the airport, has never been late in their payments to my knowledge of their land lease, has really always been a good neighbor, a good tenant, I should say. Always, very easy to work with, and they're a Christian ministry, flying service, mission service, based out of Wildwood Baptist Church here in town. They go all over the world, pretty fascinating what they do. They go all over the world, really all over the world. They go to Africa. Did a lot of work formerly in Canada, although it's been tricky the last couple of years, and reaching folks with what they do. But they've got a number of aircraft based out of that hangar. They're active flying to the airport, and would suggest, would recommend approving the renewal of the land lease, which then ultimately will come forward.
Committee, Aviation Committee, approved.
Correct, yes. So it'll be-
I would like to move to approve the Wings as Eagles Mission Air Service Incorporated Ground Lease Agreement renewal.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second for approving the ground lease between Wings as Eagles Mission Air Service in 110 Winnebago County. Let's have a vote.
Aye.
I
Dave?
said I.
Said aye as well. 5-0.
I have a question before he leaves.
Sure.
Could he give us a little information on on the tower windows.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
My question is, this has come up through the years before about those windows. That's why I'm asking what the deal is.
Sure. There are two relatively large, so the tower cab is the top floor of their traffic control tower that we own and maintain. And essentially, there are two very large window panes that are cracked and not sealing properly. They let in moisture and condensation and they fog up, especially on humid days, summer and other times of year. And then one of them especially, you can hardly even see through it longer. And so for the controllers needing visual separation of aircraft and being able to see out, of course, it's definitely a safety concern. And so this has been something that's been in the works now for.
These windows are at an angle. They're not straight up.
Correct. They come
So
over.
they fog up. Multi-pane.
Right, exactly. So they're fairly highly specified by the FAA what they can be, and they're not just any pane of glass essentially. And so we put this out for bid in the fall of last year. We received one bid, which was significantly over our budgeted amount. So we decided to hold off just on the timing of the bid. We thought we might get better bids this spring. So we held off, carried the funds over, bid it out again this spring, received the same sole bidder and basically the same price to replace two large window panes, window panels on the tower. The budget transfer really is not increasing our budget overall. It's just taking the funding from one capital item to this previously budgeted capital project
What's that
to
going
make
to
it
do?
whole.
What's that going to do to the capital project that you're currently working on?
Where we have sufficient funds in the existing, so the existing capital funds, where it's coming from, or the design work for the teenager project that just got approved. So that was already essentially, we had enough funding to cover the design work, our portion of the design work of that project. So we were able to shift the funds to the control tower project, make it whole without increasing our budget this year. So I think, unfortunately, the hybrid prices sort of are what they are. We did try to get other contractors to bid it, and it's 140 feet in the air as well. So doing this is definitely, it's Omni Glass is the sole bidder. We're very familiar with them. They did all the windows of the new General Aviation Terminal facility. I know we know they do good work, and so we're really needing to get them replaced, and we don't want to wait longer.
It's really foggy. I was looking.
Yeah, especially on the humid days, and now we're in those humid days, definitely. So
They're not the ones that put the originals in.
Okay.
I don't recall if they are or not. I only got that question prior. We have to dig through the files on when the tower was constructed. But
For your time.
certainly the tower was constructed in 2008, but it's one of those things where they do need to be replaced.
We're good.
We're far past the warranty period of the original.
We've already covered that ground.
Sure.
Just an answer to this question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Hayback.
Yes, I'd like to have Ron Montgomery from my office, or Human Resources Advisor. Explain the next item, which is the affirmative action plan for 2022, 2024, and its approval.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. Although it has been a while, it is an honor period before members of the board I've served on for 12 years, only Supervisor Albrecht. I count as a former colleague. What I'm asking of the board, pardon me, of the Personnel and Finance Committee, is to approve at this point just the goals, rules of the affirmative action plan as shown in the document, the policy document. We have several documents here. One, the policy document itself, labeled 2021-22, which is old. We're going to make it 22 through 24. The data portion of it, the EEO4, the document that I have to send every 2 years to the federal government, that was done in January. We just have not had an opportunity to incorporate, Mr. Chairman, the data into this document. The part that actually is in need of approval, where there is opportunities and choices on the part of the committee, is the rules, policy statements, sexual harassment policy, and so on. And that's what we're asking. Joaquin Lira, the chairman of the Affirmative Action Commission, is also with me. He's sitting next to Mary Ann, the Corporation Counsel. Separately, the numbers will be put into the analysis, but I'm asking at this point, Mr. Chairman, to approve the rules and policies, procedures, goals for sexual harassment and harassment policy and so on. And I can give Joan the actual page of each of those statements separately when we go back upstairs.
I would read through.
So move.
Have we read through the policy completely enough to know what it is that we're putting into the record?
It's a policy that, these largely the goals and policy statements and harassment policy, which I oversee as EEO officer, have not changed substantively in several years because it's a statement of this government rather than a political whim that may change every 6 months, every year with a political whim. And I would ask approval, Mr. Chairman.
And these pages,
I can either give those to you now or I can give them to Joan later. Which would you prefer, Mr. Chairman?
give us the pages now.
The policy, I'm asking specifically approval of the policy statement as beginning on page 2. Same thing with the sexual harassment policy. The harassment policy, sexual harassment, separate policy. Harassment is general protected class as shown on page 3. The employee complaint procedure is shown on page 19. The applicant complaint procedure is shown on page 23. The client or consumer complaint plan or policy as you were, procedure rather, as shown on page 27. Those are the variable items that the committee has control of. The data speak for themselves and they are what they are regardless of whether there's a vote on them.
Can I ask a question?
David, go ahead.
Should we do a motion first and then ask the discussion, or?
Let's make a motion first and then get the discussion.
You made the motion.
David made the motion
Second.
and Don seconds. Go ahead and discuss.
So after all you're explaining here now, nothing has really changed from the last time we approved this?
Correct. These are largely with the exception of an amendment a few years ago authored by.
I understand, but
county
since
supervisor.
then, nothing has changed.
That's correct, Mr. Albert. It's a long-standing statement of policy.
Go ahead.
But when you were pointing that out, I thought that the, like on page 27, that didn't change at all. That was the, what happens when you do file like a sexual harassment. That's the only thing that's slightly changed, correct? That's,
No, that part has not changed.
no, nothing, okay. It's just the data is basically where.
The only thing that's going to
new
change are
data.
the data, which again, don't require approval because they
Exactly.
exist on their own. I'm just asking the board if you will to ratify the document as a whole. And the reason we do that is ones are required by federal, certain parts are required by certain aspects of the federal government. Funding agencies, which many of our departments, particularly human services uses, we need to be able to present an approved affirmative action plan. That's what this would do.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if I took this book here, the only thing that's gonna change is the date on this says 21 to 22, and this one says 21 to 20 or 22.
And the data themselves will change.
Right,
Those will
but
change.
other than that, there's nothing in writing that changes.
No, I wouldn't be, unless the board authorized, or this committee authorized me to change something, no, it would not change. I'm not, beyond directory information, we're not in a position to make that decision.
We can have a vote.
I
Aye.
Aye. Steve, did you hear?
I said I.
Okay, I got 5.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Enjoy presenting your stuff.
Item 10. Next meeting date, August 4th, 9 a.m.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
For future agenda items, if we could get like our bidding system, I think is flawed, and I'd like to know what all our options are. I mean, when Mike Collier bids out, we get a lot of bids with just one bid, and I don't even think we should be accepting a bid with one bid. And we have bids on real estate,
Elder, you mean?
yes, Mike L. I just think we need to.
I was prepared to take credit for it. if you want.
I just think that there has to be other options out there.
Just a second. Have you read through the manual, black covered manual that we got from Wicca? And that there is a bidding process, and in that bidding process, there are 4 elements. And those 4 elements are being handled by Mike Elder, and I checked it. And, you know, you go back to the statutes, it's the same. It's got to be, if it's gonna be one bidder, it's got to be the most responsible bidder, okay? Otherwise, it continues to be rebid. Yes.
Yeah, I would also point out that in our county ordinance, we have a public works ordinance. It's, I think, is an 8-step process that we have to follow that's up on the county board. So there may be things there that we may have some authority over. But as Morris is talking about the WCA, the state statute things, we have no authority to change. But there are some things in our own process, in our public works ordinance, that we could revisit.
And I know we use the Manstar, and I tried sending on to the Manstar, and I used to be on it when I ran Superior Seal Coating. And they wanted me to pay for a subscription. It wasn't a free service anymore. And that's what I just don't think we're getting it out there. Like the Bureau of Aeronautics bid out the terminal, they're $1.5 million under budget. Everything we bid out were hundreds of thousands or millions over budget. I just think that our system is flawed, and as a personnel and finance committee, we want the taxpayers to make sure we're using the best. If Demand Star isn't getting enough hits to warranty a good bid, then we need to go to a different server to get our bids out into the public.
Would that be a-
Companies that use that process, and that process is, you know, all over the United States. So, when they take a look at the book, you know, they've got a set number that comes through, and then if somebody wants to bid lower than that, they find themselves foolish. They want to bid that number and anywhere close to that number. I don't. Go ahead.
Since this is not on the agenda, I would recommend if you want to have a further discussion, we could put it on.
On the agenda for future discussion.
We should not continue this discussion.
Thank you. I've been corrected.
Additional committee?
So we're at a point of adjournment.
Judicial committee, maybe perhaps.
We're at a point of adjournment.
Pardon?
We're at
So
a-
moved.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
Second.